Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Can we please ask you once again to take your seats? All the people standing around, please find your seats and be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, we once again appeal to you. Please take your seats so that we can begin with the program. ANC officials, please ensure that everybody standing around finds a seat. ANC officials that are standing around, can we please ask you for your assistance? Get everybody that is standing around seated. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. One Lord, one book, one prophet, one religion, one Qibla, one Ummah. Martin Luther King Jr., in his address to the full house of students at the Stock Pavilion on 23rd of November 1965, said, "A piece of freedom is not enough for us as human beings. A piece of liberty no longer suffices. Freedom is like life. Freedom is one thing. It is indivisible. You have it all or you are not free." We find ourselves standing on the threshold of the most creative period in the development of race relations in the history of our nation. We have moved through the wilderness of separate but equal, and now we stand on the border of the promised land on integration. We will take direct action against injustice without waiting for other agencies to act. We will always be willing to talk and seek fair compromise, but we are ready to suffer when necessary and even risk our lives to become witnesses to the truth as we see it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a special word of welcome to our honored guests, in particular, the Honorable Minister of International Relations, Naledi Pandor, and the Honorable Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, and the Honorable Member of the Gauteng Legislation, the youngest MPL, Fasiha Hassan. We also acknowledge other members of the legislature that are here. Let us give thanks to the Almighty for uniting us here and bringing us together on one platform. Maulana Sarfaraz Remtullah will open the proceedings with a short prayer.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya wal Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. O Lord Almighty, grant immense power to ANC as they have taken their step forward in the favor of oppressed people of Palestine. They are the unique organization, unique political organization, they step forward. O Allah, grant them maximum power. O Allah, grant them unity in this country, that they overcome internal and external conspiracies. O Allah, flourish ANC to do all the wonderful activities for the welfare of South African nation and worldwide for humanity. O Allah, accept our prayer in their favor and grant them more and more courage. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
Jazakallah, and thank you very much, Maulana. Naeem Patel, dubbed as the man who never sleeps, is our ward councillor with a spring in his step. Please welcome Naeem Patel on stage to do the official welcome.
It is difficult to speak when you have one of your childhood heroes in your presence. But when you have a whole array of heroes from your childhood days, it's even more difficult. I think seeing Reverend Frank Chikane in the audience today, somebody that we as kids, we used to grow up and we used to attend every program when he used to come to Lodium. He was the Mandela of that time for us because Madiba was in jail. People like Reverend Frank used to come often to our community and address us. I begin in the name of the Almighty, the most gracious, the most merciful. Takbir. Repeat after me. Birruh, Biddam, Nafdika ya Palestine. Our blood, our soul, for you, O Palestine. Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry. Palestine will never die. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oppression no more. 5, 6, 7, 8. Israel is an apartheid state. Viva ANC, viva. Viva Palestine, viva. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I greet you with the international greeting of peace. Good evening to one and all. It is an honor, a privilege and pleasure as the Ward Councillor of Ward 61 in Tshwane to extend a warm welcome on behalf of the South African Friends of Palestine, the Pretoria Muslim Women's United, and most importantly, the African National Congress tonight. The hospitality and generosity of this community of Ward 61, which is well known throughout the world, is extended to you today. Ladies and gentlemen and friends, I ask you a question. What does it mean to stand with the people of Palestine? As we sit here today, are we truly in full solidarity with the people of Palestine? Being in solidarity with the people of Palestine is more than just showing up at a march, waving a flag, more than just doing lip service and posting your solidarity on social media. You cannot come here and say you stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine, but you continue to purchase products from companies and organizations that support the destruction and mass murder of Palestinians. It cannot be that we say we stand with the oppressed, and the first thing we do when we take to the polls in May is to vote for the DA or Action SA or any other political party that facilitates the Zionist Israel apartheid regime. It cannot be that we say we stand with in solidarity with the oppressed, then we support a political party like the DA that objected to the downgrading of the Israeli embassy in 2018. It cannot be that we support political parties like Action SA, Democratic Alliance, IFP, that wasted no time in condemning Hamas for the October 7 bombings, but to date have failed in condemning Israel for the ongoing genocide against the Palestinian people. And yet, they say we are with the people of Palestine. It is these political parties that condemn the ANC and other freedom-loving parties when they voted to shut down the Israeli embassy in South Africa. Some members of the DA and Action SA, I say some Muslim members of the Action SA and the DA claim to support the oppressed people of Palestine. I challenge them, arrange one national protest in favor of Palestine or publicly condemn your political party's stance. Instead of doing this, they would rather attend a march in favor of Palestine just for a photo shoot to promote themselves and get votes for the very same political parties that supports the genocide against Palestinians. Their mere marching is not enough to prove their sincerity in support of Palestinian people. We need to decide if we are on the side of the oppressed or we are on the side of mass murderers. It is very easy, this one. It is not only an issue of religion, but it is an issue of human rights and human lives. It is quite clear that should the alliance of the Moonshot Pact, the DA and Action SA and his parties come into power in May and a new government formed after 2024 elections, there will be a 100% reversal of our current foreign policy towards Palestine. They will support the war on terror in its different forms and increase Islamophobia. Let me demonstrate to you the hypocrisy of the DA and its alliance partners like Action SA, Patriotic Alliance, etc. DA leader Johan Steenhuisen went to Ukraine and condemned Russia in the strongest words, but when it came to Palestine, silence. They lit up Table Mountain with the colors of the Ukrainian flag, but did they do the same for Palestine? No. The DA fired one of its most senior members, Ghalib Kachalia. His only crime was standing up for the people of Palestine. In 2012, the DA controversially gave the freedom of the city of Cape Town to former US President Barack Obama, who supported Israel. A similar proposal was made by the ANC and Solidarity movements to give the freedom of Cape Town to the city of Cape Town to Leila Khalid. It was outrightly rejected by the DA. Action SA leader in the Eastern Cape, Ethel Trollop, made it very clear that they are not proud of the South African government's action to take Israel to the ICJ because the ANC did not ask their permission to go to the ICJ, continuing to show the hypocrisy of this Moonshot Pact. Let's move closer to home, in our own area. Many of you might not know, the DA objected to the community building a masjid, a mosque in Valhalla. It was the ANC mayor, Josienso Ramakgopa, that gave the Muslim community free land in Valhalla to build a masjid. The same minister, Josienso Ramakgopa, gave the Tamil community a temple in Brown Street. A few months ago, the DA and Action SA coalition in Gauteng, in Tshwane, gave notice to the Pretoria Muslim Trust Burial Committee to close the Ghusl Khana in Bengal Street. Even in the days of apartheid, our religious institutes were not attacked. They wanted to close, or they've given instruction to have it closed. Even it was the ANC once again that stepped in to assist the community and make sure the Ghusl Khana is not closed down. 3 Islamic schools, of which Mr. Mansour is the principal of one of them, were cited for non-compliance, and they were refused health certificates by the DA in this community. It is the ANC once again that stepped in to assist these 3 schools. Just a few weeks ago, our own Mufti Akbar Hazarwi, principal of Darul Pretoria, was fined for carrying out Muslim rituals at the Darul. Once again, it was the ANC that stepped in and sorted out this matter. So it will be a shame on you, as freedom-loving South Africans, as members of this community, if in the next elections you vote for the DA or Action SA or any other political party that stands with Israel. The ANC, we agree, has its own challenges, and we cannot hide against acts of corruption, the high crime rate, load shedding, but this does not affect my religion or the freedom to practice it. It might be temporarily affect my well-being, but to support oppression and genocide affects our souls. Many opposition parties question, where are the Muslims today in the ANC? To this I say, the Muslims are in the forefront leading the African National Congress. Have they never heard of Minister Naledi Pandor? Have they never heard of Chief Mandla Mandela? Have they never heard of MEC Tasneem Motara? Have they never heard of Ambassador Mohammed Dengo or MPL Fasia Hassan or Member of Parliament Yunus Kerem or the Minister Ibrahim Patel? It looks like they never heard of all these people or they don't recognize them as Muslims. On behalf of the South African Friends of Palestine, on behalf of the community of Ward 61, on behalf of every peace-loving citizen of South Africa and the globe, I say thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Minister Pandor and the colleagues in her cabinet. Viva Minister Pandor, viva! Ladies and gentlemen, we must never forget that Minister Pandor is leading this initiative. But Minister Pandor is a member, a disciplined member of the African National Congress, and her work is to institute and to carry out policy of the African National Congress. So we say thank you to the colleagues of hers in cabinet. The African National Congress, the ruling party, have not only done us proud, they've done the whole world proud. They've shown the world a way at a time when Palestinians have been betrayed by their own Arab neighbors. We know that the ANC has taken this stance at great political and economic risk, and we are proud of you. We salute you. People can find fault with the ANC on many issues, but when it comes to the issue of the oppressed people of the world, the ANC stands far above the rest, and at times they stand all alone. My fellow South Africans, know that you can hold your head up high when it comes to the Palestinian issue. Not only does the government of Palestine and the liberation movements of Palestine acknowledge the support of the South African government and the ANC in its fight for freedom, but so does every ordinary citizen of Palestine. Myself and a few members of the community returned a few months ago from Palestine, and we can testify to the warm welcome we received from the people of Palestine and the gratitude displayed by them for championing their cause. Once again, I welcome you all to this interactive dialogue and dinner with Minister Naledi Pandor, Premier Panyaza Lesufi, and the Reverend Frank Chikane. I want to take this opportunity to wish all Muslims Ramadan Kareem. Remember us and the oppressed peoples of the world in your prayers during this auspicious month. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patel. Following in the footsteps of Councillor Patel, we have little Hassana Mansoor, who wants to deliver a message to the children of Palestine. Hassana Mansoor. Welcome, Hassana.
To the children of Palestine, I'm a 5-year-old South African, and I want you to know I didn't forget you. I see your pain. I see your suffering. I know the world doesn't care, but we care. Nelson Mandela said, South Africa will not be truly free until Palestine is free. The world is not blind anymore. We all see you. We will not stop until we hear your laughter across the world. Free, free Palestine, from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. Viva ANC!
Yeah, you can see Naim is training his supporters from young already. KK Kurta, not from the Ku Klux Klan, will now address us on why the ANC. Please welcome on stage the colorful and sagacious Abdul Qadir Kurta. Sorry, just before we start with Abdul Qadir Kurta, can we please ask you to rise? We're going to have the national anthem led by Alia Kruger and Rafensi Mabokela.
Inkosi sigaleli Afrika, malupaganisu pololwayo, Israelitanda zoesu, Nkosi sigalela tina nusakuwayo, murena bulu kasih cabasa Yesu, ufelice gintwale matre leu si buluke si cabasa Yesu, si cabasa South Africa, South Africa, ei blow van onze jammer, ei die diepte van ons hart, wordt ons geweld is, van die kranse antwoord ja. Sounds the calls to come together, and united we shall stand. Let us love and strike for freedom in South Africa, our land.
Thank you. All right, I now hand you over to Abdul Qadir Kurta.
I think my dazzling shirt made them forget the national anthem. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Allah says in the Quran, O you who have believed, be persistently standing firm in justice, witnesses for Allah, even if it be against yourselves, your parents and relatives. Whether one is rich or poor, Allah, God, is more worthy of both. Allah continues, and think not that Allah is unaware of what the oppressors do. He only grants them some respite until the days the eyes will stare in horror. Our beloved Prophet Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Whosoever of you sees an evil, let him or her change it with their hands. And if he or she is not able to do so, then let them change it with their tongue. And if they are not able to do so, then with their hearts. And that is the weakest form of faith. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you. Somebody is awake. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Honorable Minister Naledi Pando, Premier La Sufi, special guests, and all our esteemed, wonderful, beloved people of Pretoria. You are more important than all. I say this from the stage. You are important. If you were not here, it wouldn't matter who else is here. So you are the ones. Now, they've given me a topic. Why? What's the topic, Mansoor? Why ANC? I ask you, why not? Why not the ANC? Are you blind? Are you deaf? Are you dumb? Do you not see what has happened? Do you not see what is happening? You know, I've prepared this speech, but I'll dispense with it. Because I'm so upset for them to give me this topic. I thought we were all ANC. Minister Pando, I thought we were all ANC. I want to know here, who is not ANC? Lift your hand up. Lift it up high so I can see the fool, the ignorant fools that is not part of this ANC government. When everybody, I mean every country in the world, stood still, transfixed, immobilized, petrified, could not move an arm. And suddenly, the southern part of South Africa, of Africa, there was a movement, a strange movement, and the world looked up. What's happening there? They are a people. There is a country called South Africa. There is a party called the ANC. There is a president called Cyril Ramaphosa. And there is a minister called Dr. Naledi Pando. They challenged the oppressors. They challenged the warmongers. They challenged savagery, human savagery, Western savagery, murder and mayhem. They stood up against it. And they took the criminals to court. And you still ask, why ANC? I don't know if I'm preaching to the converted here. I really don't know. It seems you are all ANC supporters. But I want you to carry this message when you leave this hall. Please. Unfortunately, I don't wear a hat. Madam Pando, if I had a hat on, I would remove it for you. I would remove this hat. Intrepid Naledi Pando is standing strong. Our government is standing behind her. Our president is in full support. We need to take cognizance of that. We need to appreciate this. Believe you me, believe you me, if I want to paint a dark picture of the devil's alliance and the devil's coalition coming to power, what's going to happen to all of us? What's going to happen to Palestine? Let me draw a little sketch. Maybe we can understand it better. I've got how many? 20 minutes, 30 minutes? 5 minutes. 5 minutes. They asked me to leave my gun outside, my firearm. I left it outside, so I can't threaten anybody. Let me give you, and this will resonate with, I think, most of the people here. When I come home every day, tired, exhausted, spiritual, mental, and physical exhaustion, when I enter the gate, I get the whiff of my wife's cooking. And this Indian gravy is tantalizing, believe you me. It does something to you. It gives you a relaxed mode. I know there's a warm meal waiting. As soon as I enter the gate, my best friend, my dog Toffee, comes running up to me, wagging his tail and wanting to smother me with his kisses. But Maulanas have warned us that the tongue of the dog is haram. So I do the maneuvers to keep the dog away. As I come up, who's waiting for me? My little Jinxie, the cat, seductively purring, running between my legs, showing her affection. As soon as I leave the two pets, my little grandchild comes running, smothering me, hugging me with kisses. As I enter, my daughter was cradling the other baby. I call him Smiley because whenever he sees me, he smiles. I don't know, he finds me funny maybe, but he smiles. My daughter asks, Dad, kiss on the cheek, how was your day? Are you okay? And then I see my beloved wife in the kitchen with a baton, rolling pin. And it's not a weapon, she was making roti. She's making roti. She makes lovely roti. And of course, the customary kiss on her cheek. I'm in my sanctuary. In her castle, but I'm in my sanctuary. Comfortable in my loving home. Let's gaze now to Gaza. Mustafa has been out the whole day amidst the devastation, death and destruction, looking for food and water. He's left his family home, his entire family's in the house, 2-story building in Gaza City, and he's seeing death, destruction, Zionist soldiers sniping at them, and he comes home exhausted and drained and traumatized because of the death and destruction that he's witnessed, going to look for food and water and coming home. And lo and behold, when he gets home, brothers and sisters, there is no home. To his horror, there is no home standing. Everything is flattened. Flames, acrid smell of burning flesh. 30 members of his family, his beloved wife, his beloved baby son, his 7-8-year-old loving daughter, his mom and dad, his siblings. One bomb, one Zionist bomb, one bomb supplied by Joe Biden and Rishi Sunak and the Europeans have destroyed his life before his very eyes. He will no longer embrace his wife. He will no longer feel the loving hugs of his beloved children. He will no longer gaze into his mother's loving eyes. No more. They are gone, wiped out by the Israeli terrorist force. Call them what they truly are. Modern day savages and terrorists. That's what they are. The death and destruction is mind-boggling. We have no idea. Absolutely no idea. Dr. Mustafa will be coming here and he'll tell you a little bit about what's happening there. But brothers and sisters, Dr. Naledi Pandor, President Cyril Ramaphosa, the ANC are standing with Palestine. Are we going to stand with them? That is the question. We have some homework to do. You need to go out there. You need to convince. You start off with your family, your friends, your social circle, your community. Because if we don't, you will forever and ever be sorry. And let us not be sorry. Please, please, I appeal to you. There isn't more I can say. This is from the heart. This is straightforward, whether you like it or you lump it. We have to cast our vote for people who stand for human rights, for equality, for justice, for courage. They have shown immense courage. Not only did they take Israel to the ICJ, they've taken the US. they've taken Europe, and whoever is complicit in this, the DA, Action SA, who's the other, ACDP, Patriotic Front, whoever this coalition is, they are complicit. Their hands are dripping in blood of the people of Palestine. Why? Because they unashamedly support the illegal state of Palestine. So I appeal to you, please, when you're there, Allah is watching you only. It's you, it's private. Your cross is between you and Allah. So make the right choice. Don't have regrets. Don't do that. Jazakallah, thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, KK. We'll put your name forward for the next minister. Activists from Palestine who just landed from Ramallah, you probably heard of him or you watched him on TV debating the likes of Piers Morgan on TV. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and please welcome on stage Dr. Mustafa Bagruti.
Thank you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak to you today. I just came today from Palestine, carrying in my heart and in my mind the story of Gaza and the suffering of the people, the story of Palestine, about which Nelson Mandela said before anybody else that it is the most important moral issue of our time. Palestine is suffering today from the most terrible atrocity. 3 war crimes are taking place at the same time in parallel. The war crime of genocide, the war crime of ethnic cleansing, the war crime of collective punishment. And the results are shocking. 37,000 people killed so far, including those who are under the rubble that nobody can get to. 73,000 injured people. 700,000 people at this time are suffering from starvation in the north of Gaza. 1 million people are now sick of different diseases because of the siege, lack of water, lack of food. Israel is killing us with bombardment, with starvation, and also with diseases. They have thrown on us American bombs, the largest air bridge ever organized in the Middle East for Israel by the United States of America. 70,000 tons of explosives thrown on that little place that is Gaza, which is not larger than 140 square miles. 70,000 tons of explosives. That is more than double both nuclear bombs thrown on Nagasaki and Hiroshima during the Second World War. It is 30 kilograms of explosives for each man, woman, and child in Gaza. Today is the International Women's Day, and I congratulate all women here on this day. But on this day, 50,000 pregnant women in Gaza cannot find a safe place to give birth in. 64,000 breastfeeding women cannot feed their babies because they are hungry. They don't have food. 350,000 girls and women are starving now in the north of Gaza because of this terrible Israeli crime. My heart, I told my colleagues today, my heart broke when I watched a little child in Gaza who is one of 1,000 children who lost their limbs up till now, asking his father, the 5-year-old baby asks his father, he lost both hands, and he was asking his father, will my hands grow up again when I grow up? That is the suffering of thousands of children, 17,000 orphans up till now in Gaza because of this terrible Israeli crime. 7th of October was not the beginning of history. We have been suffering from ethnic cleansing since 76 years, since 1948, when Israel committed the first Nakba, and it is now committing the second Nakba. 57 years of military Israeli occupation, the longest in modern history, and the worst system of apartheid. I used to say apartheid in Palestine was like apartheid in South Africa, but you, the South African friends and comrades, told me when you came to Palestine, no, this is a much worse apartheid than what prevailed in South Africa. That is the reality of today. And we all remember, Israelis don't understand why South Africa is with us. They forgot that when they were supporting the apartheid system here, doing nuclear experiments with the apartheid regime here, when the prime minister of the apartheid system said in 1963, Israel is like South Africa, is also an apartheid state. They forgot that. They forgot that while they were supporting apartheid here in South Africa, our revolutionaries in the Palestinian Revolution were supporting the fighters of the ANC for the freedom of South Africa. And I want here to say, I came here, my friends and comrades and colleagues, to thank you, to thank South Africa, to thank the ANC, to thank Comrade Naledi Pandor, because you are now, I want you to know, Mrs. Foreign Minister, I want you to know that you are now the hero of the Palestinian people. You are the hero of the Palestinian people. You are the hero of the Palestinian people. Because you dared to do what others should have done and they didn't dare to do. Because you were not afraid of the Zionist movement, and you were not afraid of the United States of America and of all those who were pressuring you not to do what you have done by taking these criminals to the International Court of Justice. What is wrong with asking for the application of international law? What is wrong for asking to facilitate the most important justice court in our world? That's what you have done heroically, but that's what so many others did not dare to do. And we, the Palestinians, will remember that forever. We remember your heroism. We will remember how you stood with us. We will remember how you stood up to American and Western pressure. And we will remember how you did justify and show, how you have shown what Nelson Mandela said, that South Africa will not be completely free till Palestine is free. I know today that they are gathering forces against ANC and against what you have done, and that's why allow me today, on behalf of the Palestinian people, on behalf of the people in Gaza, on behalf of all people in the world who are struggling for freedom and justice, to ask you to vote for the ANC. When you support ANC and all those who are supporting Palestine in the next elections, you are supporting us, Palestinians. Remember this, when you support ANC, you are supporting our struggle against this terrible injustice. I thank you so much. I don't want to take much more of your time. I know the time is limited, but let's say today, one last time, thank you, South Africa. Thank you, South Africa. Thank you, ANC. Thank you, Naledi Bando. And free, free Palestine. 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 Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Mustafa Bagruti. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a car, a white Jetta, registration number DK57GNGP. You are blocking the way. Will you please remove your car? After that powerful discourse, I think we need some time to catch our breath. So we're going to give you the next 5 minutes to enjoy some starters. All right? The next 5 minutes, we're going to serve starters, and then we will resume the program. Okay, they're struggling to get the bakkie in with the food because of the road being blocked. So just give us a few minutes. We're going to serve the starters, and then we're going to resume the program. Thank you. A hadith is a collection of traditions containing sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, which accounts of his daily practice constitute the major source of guidance for Muslims apart from the Quran. One such hadith is this one. When the immigrants who had crossed the sea came back to the Messenger of Allah, he said, "Tell me of the strange things that you saw in the land of Abyssinia." Some men among them said, "Yes, O Messenger of God. While we were sitting, one of the elderly nuns came past carrying a vessel of water on her head. She passed by some of the youths, one of whom placed his hand between her shoulders and pushed her. She fell on her knees and a vessel broke. When she stood up, she turned to him and said, 'You will come to know, O foolish young man, that when God sets up the footstool and gathers the first and the last, and hands and feet speak of which they used to earn, you will come to know your case and my case in his presence soon.' The messenger of God said, 'She spoke the truth. How can God purify any people of sin when they do not protect the weak against the strong?' Upon relating the incident, the messenger of God blames society as a whole, and not just the young man who had oppressed the nun. To blame was to be put on the society that had allowed such behavior to normalize. It was society's fault that the young man could freely push an old woman without being held accountable. The young oppressor was the product of a facilitating institution. So what we learn here is that if you side with injustice or if you keep quiet, you are complicit in the injustice. Because a hadith of the Holy Prophet once again says, if you see anything wrong happening, it is incumbent upon you to take up arms against it or to stand up against it. If you cannot do that, at least speak out against it. And if you can't even do that, at least feel bad about it in your heart, which is the weakest form of Iman. Ladies and gentlemen, the next session is an interactive session that will be chaired by Fasiya Hassan. Fasiya Hassan. Oh, sorry. Greg will come on the stage to introduce the participants in the interactive session.
Good evening. My name is Greg Schneeman. I am a member of the Provincial Executive Committee of the ANC in Gauteng, and I also have the privilege of leading a task team that is focusing on what we would term as national groups in the province of Gauteng. Firstly, good evening, Minister Pandor, the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Premier Banyaza Lusufi, the Premier of Gauteng, ambassadors of Cuba, Western Sahara, and Colombia that are present with us, MECs present, Councillor Naeem Patel, and all councillors that are present here tonight. Provincial Secretary of the ANC in Gauteng, Comrade TK Mngiza, the Treasurer General of the Veterans League, Comrade Faisal Randera, and let me also take this opportunity of greeting the Reverend Frank Chikani. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I've already introduced myself, but let me use this opportunity to say that I'm a very proud member of the African National Congress, and it's a great pleasure to be here tonight. As the world celebrates International Women's Day today, let us remember that the women of the world are the pillars of society. Equally, our hearts go out to the women of Palestine for their bravery and resilience in the midst of a genocide that is being meted out upon them. Let us always remember them in our prayers and let us never forget them. As a Christian, I wish to make it very clear that I cannot and will not support the genocide that the Israeli state is carrying out against the peoples of Palestine. It is time that the Christian church in South Africa, sorry, I've just messed up something here. It is time that the Christian church in South Africa stops being quiet and condemns the atrocities being meted out on the Palestinian people on a daily basis. My task is very simple. Minister Pandor, thank you for your tireless efforts as the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation in championing the stand that South Africa has taken in taking Israel to the International Court of Justice. We are delighted to welcome you here tonight with us in Erasmia and Laudium. Premier Panyaza Lesufi, thank you for being here tonight in Laudium or in Erasmia, where we are in this particular venue. Premier Lesufi, thank you for leading us so well in Gauteng. And thank you for leading Gauteng in condemning the genocide which the Israeli state is carrying out against the Palestinian people. Finally, I'd like to use this opportunity to thank all of you from the community of Laudium and many other communities for showing your support for the peoples of Palestine and the ANC by coming out here tonight. We thank you and we look forward to engaging with you further over the weeks that lie ahead. On that note, let me invite Minister Naledi Pandor to the stage. Let me also invite the Gauteng Premier, Premier Panyaza Lesufi, to the stage. Let me also invite the Reverend Frank Chikani to join us here on stage. And finally, let me invite the Comrade Fasia Hassan to also join us on stage. Thank you very much.
Do you want to? Let's give. 1, 2. Shakil. 1, 2. 1, 2. Shakil. Shakil, come to the stage, please.
Assalamu alaikum, namaste, good evening. My name is Fasia Hassan. I am a member of the provincial legislature, but I am also a member of the ANC. So tonight, I have the honor and the privilege of facilitating our discussion. Comrade Greg has done an excellent job of introducing the panel, so I'm not going to do that. And in fact, I'm going to sit down. I just wanted to greet you by standing up out of respect. Tonight, and I know we're very excited, we've got the Minister, we've got Reverend Chikane and the Premier, and we wanted to speak with our communities. We didn't want to talk at you, we wanted to have an engagement, something interactive, and that's why we're having a slightly different setup to what we normally do. So I know we're all quite excited. I'm going to ask the first question to the Minister, and then we're going to make it a little bit more organic from there. Minister, the talk of the town is the ICJ preliminary ruling, and of course, apartheid Israel's inability, or let's just say, decision not to implement those preliminary rules. What are we able to do as the international community and as South Africa, who's brought the case before the ICJ? Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Fasiha. Allow me to say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone who's present here today. What we have done as South Africa is go to the International Court of Justice, which is the premier global court, one of the institutions of the United Nations, which has the mandate of addressing global disputes and adjudicating them. The court is composed of 17 judges from all regions of the world, and it essentially supervises international law. International law is codified in a number of conventions and protocol. We have a convention on the crime, on the punishment of the crime of genocide. And it is this convention that we utilized in applying to the International Court of Justice. There were two things that we wanted. The first was for the court to agree with us as the government of South Africa. I want to make it clear, if President Ramaphosa had not led this process, we would not have gone to the court. The first thing, therefore, was one, that we alleged that we believe genocide is being committed in Palestine by the Israeli government, led by Prime Minister Netanyahu and all the ministers of his government. And we set out our case very, very cogently. The second matter that we wanted the court to address was to provide what we called provisional measures. These are in the convention, which measures are directed at protecting those who are under harm from further harm by a state. Only states approach the International Court of Justice, and states are responsible to act in terms of the conventions if they've signed on to them. One of the first signatories to the Convention on Genocide was the State of Israel. So it's a state party to the convention. And we as South Africa are also a state party. So we took Israel to the ICJ. The ICJ ruled that from what we presented, and if you listened to their judgment, you would have seen they went far beyond what we presented as evidence. They did their own research, and they found that in their view, it is plausible that genocide is being committed. So the first issue, which relates to what was essentially our allegation, the court says there's plausibility. Of course, they need to have the full hearings on the merits of each of the aspects that make up what is termed genocide. But the plausibility finding is an important first step. They then considered each of the provisional measures that we had proposed, and they supported 7 out of our 9 provisional measures. But you know today that although Israel has a legal obligation to act in terms of the provisional measures, they have not acted in terms of them. They have defied the International Court of Justice. We are not surprised, because Israel has been defying international law for more than 7 decades. But what we did is something we've not seen before. Israel had to come to the court and try to defend the indefensible. And they couldn't, as you would have seen if you followed the case. We presented a solid set of arguments. The Israeli lawyers were trying to present, but they were incoherent, because what they are doing is indefensible. You can't come and deny that the Minister of Defense of Israel said Palestinian people are not human. They are human animals. You cannot come to the court and say the Prime Minister hasn't said he's determined to raise Gaza. Because we've all heard it and seen it. So what the court has done is allowed the world to see Israel for what Israel is, to see the harm being done to the Palestinian people. So for the first time, we now have the most significant support and awareness of Palestine than we've ever had before. And I thank you, the people of South Africa, for your solid support. Now, if you neglect to act on what the court has said, the party that raised the issue can go back to the court. 2 days ago, we went back to the court and we said we now see Rafah, and we want the court to include a planned assault on Rafah as one of the provisional measures. We are waiting for the court, but we believe they will agree that there's a real danger of further genocide and harm being undertaken by Israel. So, unfortunately, we don't have enforcement power as United Nations bodies, and this is one of the weaknesses of the UN. But what we have done is we've used an international instrument to address a very important matter. So I think you mustn't undermine the important step you've taken as South Africa. You have supported the people of Palestine. You have made Israel naked to the world. We can all see Israel. We can all see the evil. There's nowhere to hide any longer. And most importantly, those who have assisted Israel, when the full case is considered, their complicity will also be addressed. These are important steps. So I hope, I know we've got much more to talk about, so let me pause there.
Thank you very much, Minister. As you can see, we were having a little debate, the Premier and I. So now I have to throw the next question to you, Premier. To those who don't know, Premier Panyaza Lesufi was also the former MEC of Education, and he's been very involved in our communities. So this is someone who's very much on the ground. Premier, you're also the chair of the ANC in the province, and there's so many of us in the room who we talk about international solidarity, but I don't know if we quite appreciate what that means and what the role of the ANC in particular, both as a political party, as a movement rather, and as a governing party. What is the role of the ANC in international solidarity?
Amandla! Amandla! Maibuye Palestine, maibuye!
Maibuye!
Maibuye Palestine, maibuye!
Maibuye!
Thank you so much, Comrade Fasia, and thank you so much, Comrade Naledi. Muruti, thank you so much for inviting us to be part of this process. Before I even respond to the question, I want to send this strong message to our minister. Comrade Naledi, you have no idea what you've done, not only for the people of South Africa, but for the people of Palestine. Generations and generations and generations will record this moment, not only as an historic moment, but as a moment that cemented our relationship with the people of Palestine. We want to be clear that you are leading us perfectly. We want to be clear to President Cyril Ramaphosa that we knew when we took this decision to stand with Palestine, we took this decision at a risk of being insulted, undermined, and possibly being targeted by those that don't agree with us. But we must remain firm. We must remain firm because we ourselves, we are a product of solidarity. We ourselves, the democracy that we enjoy is because other countries took a stand, and we can't be selfish when we need to take a stand and shy away because of sanctions, shy away because of economic reasons, shy away because we want to be happy alone. So please, Minister Naledi, the stand we've taken, it's a stand that is correct, and we are ready to suffer the consequences of taking a correct stand. We are taking a stand to be on the side of the weak. We are taking a stand to be on the side of women and children that are injured. We are taking a stand to be on the side of those that need medication and they are denied medication. If that means we must be a risk to any society, if that means we must be a risk to any country, let they bring on. We are ready to stand and to stand for it again forever. So I felt it's very important that we place that and to be clear. And never in the history of our country, when comrades, activists, NGOs take a stand that we are defeated. We have to thank everyone that is in this house who came not only to support our call, but to say we stand together to ensure that we deal with these particular issues. So our stand on international support is very clear, Comrade Fasia. I'm glad that the ambassador of Western Sahara is here. I'm glad that we have taken a stand with the people of Cuba. I'm glad you are taking a stand with the people of Eswatini. So we remain firm on those particulars. And those that are accusing us to say we've got load shedding, those that are accusing us that we've got high level of crimes, those that are accusing us that we have high level of unemployment and we are concentrating on international affairs, my answer is very simple. We can do all of them at the same time. We can't leave any other thing on the basis that other things are not going well. It's just like us when your neighbor has been attacked by criminals. You say, I can't assist my neighbor because I don't have water in my house. That's limiting and that's myopic. So where we stand, we know we've got these challenges, but does not mean we must leave and expose people of Palestine to suffer because we've got load shedding. We really believe that's something that we need to understand better. Viva Palestine, viva!
Viva!
From the river to the sea,
Palestine will be free.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Premier. I think there's one point, just before I come to you, Reverend, around the moral authority, and I just want to make this point to the room. The African National Congress, who is in government at the moment, has turned the tables in terms of that moral authority for the very same reasons we've said. And this is fundamentally important for a number of reasons. The first is we reclaim our space on an international arena. But number two, people may not know this, but it also helps for trade agreements. It helps for diplomatic work. It means that when we go to other countries and other communities and other spaces and we say, invest in our economy, help us create jobs, help us create a South African economy that we can grow and can employ everybody. It's one of the elements that actually are linked. And it's important to understand that because so many people want to attack the work that the ANC is doing, that the government is doing, that the minister is doing, without understanding the holistic or the greater goal here, which ultimately links us as South Africans to Palestinians as well. So that's very important. And it's also very important because it's a part of the renewal agenda of the ANC. For those in the room who don't know, the ANC has embarked on a whole scale, like if I tell you from the root to the right to the top, of a renewal of the organization. And that doesn't just mean in terms of the posters and the branding. It's about the culture of the organization. And the ICJ case, in fact, is evidence of that renewal agenda actually starting to be implemented. Because this is the ANC that we are proud of. This is the ANC all of us grew up understanding and knowing. This is the ANC that led society and continues to lead society, not just to a promised land, but to an equitable and fair society. And that's one of the reasons why this particular ICJ ruling is so fundamentally important. I had to, I'm so sorry, Fred, but I had to add in something there. This is Comrade Frank Chikane. I know when I was introducing you to the team earlier, there are many in the room who said we know you from our UDF days, from the United Democratic Front. When the ANC was banned and we were unable to openly fight apartheid, we had to create different types of organizations or umbrella bodies. And Comrade Frank Chikane is a senior leader of the UDF, and in fact, not myself, but you owe your freedom to the people sitting on this stage. And I want us to give them a round of applause, because we would not be in this democracy had these leaders not fought at a time when it was unpopular to do so. Unpopular to do so. And they stood up against apartheid South Africa in the same way they are standing up against apartheid Israel. Reverend, I want you to talk about your recent trip to Palestine. So many of us get a little bit bogged down. We think it's only a Muslim issue. You know, we know it's a humanitarian issue. I want you to speak to that. But there's a very important thing, Comrade Frank, and that's why I mentioned the UDF. So many people, not just in South Africa, all over the world, they feel helpless. You know, we're seeing on social media, on Instagram and TikTok, the horror, the pain. What can we do as people, just as human beings? What can we do to support the cause?
Well, I will also start elsewhere. It's actually an experience to come back to Lodiam. We did lots of work with the people of Lodiam during the UDF days. And I'm pleased to be here again with you. Two things I would like to say about the Premier and the Minister before I talk about the visit. I just want to say, Premier, thank you for saying we must do both. But I think you didn't tell them that you are doing the other thing. And I hope that we'll hear more about the fact that you are dealing with the electricity crisis, you are dealing with the challenges that people are facing in this country. And I think it's our responsibility to make sure that we deal with those challenges. Secondly, I just want to say, Minister, we just returned from the Palestine. 2 days later, the team was in The Hague. And you submitted the documents. The day the matter was presented in that court, I listened, and I'm sure many of you listened. And I felt that day that I'm proud to be a South African, just listening. And I felt after a long time that actually it's good to be a South African. And that case in The Hague actually reflected what we as South Africans are about. These are the people of South Africa that I know, coming from our struggle, and that what we were doing there was what we are about. And if we behave differently, it is not what we are about as South Africans. So I would like to say, Minister, I feel very proud. I walk tall. And today, when you meet people, they respect you because of what has happened in the court. And I think the world is just excited about what South Africa has done. But I would like to say something else which worries me even more. I normally don't talk elections, but I just want to say these elections come at a critical time when the world will be watching. They want to see whether the people of South Africa support this government. And so it is critical that the people of South Africa go out of their way to make sure that what this government stands for is what we as South Africans are about. I just want to say, first, the visit to Palestine, I went to Palestine, I've been there a number of times, but we went there May 2002. And when we were there, Gaza was under siege and the West Bank was under siege. People were dying at that time. We went to East Jerusalem to go and meet families who were who ran away from the Israeli part where they stayed, which is Palestine, and went to East Jerusalem. And the Zionists came there and said, this is our land, these are our properties, we're going to take them. And I went there to be with them, to listen to them. And it was quite amazing to listen to this story, which is about apartheid, that a Jew can go back to Israel, Palestine, and make a claim of an asset that they think was theirs centuries ago. But a Palestinian who was forced to run away from a particular town can't go there. And I said, but are you not using the same law? They said, no, it's not the same. There's one law for the Jews and one law for the Palestinians. And that convinced me this is apartheid. You don't have to go to a school to understand that this is apartheid. A Palestinian can't go and claim a land they lost or a property they lost in 1948. But a Jew can come there and say, my ancestors were here and I claim this house, I claim that property. And I don't want to talk more about it. We came back with a request from Palestine that we should start a movement of the same nature as the anti-apartheid movement, internationally, globally, to support Palestine. So I came back here and we interacted with comrades around to talk about how we should do that. In the meantime, we got another request from the Palestinian Anti-Apartheid Coordinating Committee that said to us in a written form, we're asking you as South Africans, you are the only ones who understand us and understand our pain. Can you help us? And we accepted that challenge. Whilst we're doing that, and I need to explain this because it's important, October 7 happened. Now, I'm not one of those people who believe that October 7 is a cause of what is happening now. The Palestinians have been dying. The Palestinians have been killed daily. In fact, on the average, in the last 2 years, children, 2 to 3 children were killed per month in the West Bank alone. And so when Palestinians are killed, there's no headline news. The United States doesn't talk. Europe doesn't talk. Nobody talks because they treat Palestinians as less than human beings. But when an attack like that of October 7 happens, the whole world comes up in arms. And that tells you that the world is a racist world. I've concluded it is racist and it is colonial and it still operates as if we are in a colony. That's why they want to tell us how to think, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. And some of the parties here want also to measure us against the stance of Western countries instead of measuring us against justice. And so the Christian community there is the one that appealed after October with the genocide and said to us, can you help us appeal to the Americans and the British, the churches, to make sure that they stop this genocide? They should be the first one to take a stand. I signed a letter with the Patriarch of the Catholic Church in Palestine and sent it to the Western churches to appeal to them, to say you can't ignore this genocide that is being committed there. I haven't got a response up to now. And then 2 weeks later, when we met again, 8,000 Palestinians were killed. And then they said to us, well, the letter hasn't made any difference. Please just come and be with us. Maybe when you are with us, you will understand the pain. And that's why we took the risk, 19 of us, a week before Christmas, to go there and be with the Palestinians. We went to Jerusalem, we went to Bethlehem. It was total siege. I don't have time to explain that siege. And we wanted to go to Gaza, and we could not get a permission to go there. We're prepared to go there and be with the people there. And when you are there, you've never had such an experience of people who are waiting for death. I've never been in an environment where people are waiting for death. In Gaza, in terms of the churches there, they were baptizing people before they were ready because they were preparing for death. And they were giving people communion, all of them, whether you qualify or not, all of them, because they were waiting for death. And when you wait for death, that means that the world has come to an end. And that made me believe that we have a greater responsibility as South Africa and also the international community to stand together and stop this genocide. I thank you.
Waiting for death. I think that's very, very powerful. So often we remark in our communities of the courage of the Palestinians, but to be there, and for those who might have missed it, Comrade Frank and the team went now, this December 2023, just before Christmas, to be with the Palestinian community. Another round of applause for the panel, please. All right, we're moving now to the question and answer session. Remember, I said we wanted to be a conversation. I've asked Comrade Naeem, I've asked Shaquille and Comrade Greg to help us identify just a few questions or a few comments. We want a diverse group of people as well.
Nazir Token is the mic, right? Nazir Token.
Okay, well, yeah, we just want, have a diverse group of people. And I think it's quite important because apart from, I'm not going to be selecting, so this team is selecting. They're going to choose who speaks, but it's very important because we're seeing now starvation as a tool of war. We're seeing, forget a lack of ceasefire, just a complete disregard for international law and the complete impunity of the Israeli regime. And I'm going to keep bringing us back to this. Where to from here? What do we need to do? Right, I think Nazir Token, am I right, has the mic. Right, so have you guys identified people? All right. Guys, I need you to be there. Let's go to the community members, yeah?
They can come here.
Or they can come in the front. Yeah. That's also a good idea. Then everyone can see them.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I first want to thank our Minister for what you have done. I was one of the group that's been evacuated from Palestine. I faced the war, and unfortunately my husband couldn't have come with me. He's still inside Rafah, which is, it's a big trauma for me. And every day is stressing for me, for my husband's safety that's in Rafah. I want to bring some awareness. I don't know if you are aware of this, but yesterday when I speak to my husband on the phone, there was a lady coming into his office and she was crying. She's not registered at the UN. She doesn't get food parcels. She doesn't get humanitarian aid. So, and I realized there's so many brothers and sisters in Palestine that is not registered at the UN to gain humanitarian aid, doesn't have tents, nothing. Is there a way that we can bring awareness that there's many people that still need help to get humanitarian aid?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if I'm on yet. Let's get the second speaker. Remember to also please introduce yourself. So when the minister and the team answer, it's a little easier for us to answer if we know your name, or perhaps where you're from or which organization you're from as well.
Imam Saeed, first and foremost, I would like to commend each member of the panel, and especially Sister Minister Naledi Pando. You have indeed not engaged Israel for the sake of the Palestinians, but rather for the future of humanity. This is my opinion. Reverend Friend Chakani, we as Muslims believe in the continuity of, or rather we believe in the evolution of religion and religious thought. So in the Bible we read of the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one God, and we as Muslims believe in the kalima, La ilaha illallah, which in essence is liberational. You cannot be a Muslim yet observe the subordination of another creation of God Almighty. So actually, when you look at this situation, it is basically the ANC trying to bury capitalism in Gaza contextually. And if we do not succeed in basically doing that, you would find that we will be endangering the future human society as a whole. And that is why, just to set the pace for what this actual meeting is all about, the world should understand that a few days ago when Netanyahu stated that it is time to liberate Africa, which means that he has concluded that they have succeeded in Palestine. And he also gave a hint about the dairy industry. And this brings us directly into the economics of South Africa. And remember, the largest dairy institution is Clover, and it has been purchased by an Israeli company. So he gives you a hint that they would like to liberate Africa, and obviously in context with the DA and of course the move to call for the cessation of the Cape from mainstream South Africa, which means that they intend to liberate Africa starting from the Cape. And that is why this election that is going to take place is indeed a great challenge for all South Africans and people of the world. And I hope this would set the tone for us to understand that there is only one way for us to vote, and that is ANC. And the panel should realize that when a certain member of theirs, before a breakaway, went to Polokwane to actually remove one of the greatest, or if not the greatest president in the freedom years of South Africa, and that is Thabo Mbeki, it set a pace for 2 years for the fiscals to be damaged. And you remember, at this moment in time, the Zionists are supporting every force, every political formation against the ANC. And that is why my appeal to our own community and South Africans in general, that the challenge is to save our democracy. And then, of course, we can talk of electricity and the other things. I thank you.
Thank you very much to Imam Said. Let's take 2 or 3 more points. Let's also be a little bit brief. If there's a question, get to the question, or that comment in particular, because we want to give enough time to the panel to respond to some of the questions that we are raising. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And good evening to the Honorable Minister Naledi Pando and our Premier, Wanyaza Sufi. We would like to thank you and your team for what you have achieved. And to the Honorable Minister, you as a noble and honorable woman have shown more courage and bravery than all the coward and impotent dictators installed by the West, who are ruling the Arab lands through Western policy ever since the 3rd of March 1924. But what is really on my chest, and as a proud South African, it is upsetting to still see that those with dual citizenship committing treason, going there to fight, and coming back with impunity. South Africa must prosecute those that have gone to fight in the IDF. An effort needs to be exerted to stop this treason, and the harshest punishment must be applied over them. It is also my view that South Africa needs to respond to allies who are supporters of this genocide. The fact that Iran Airlines are still allowed to operate between South Africa and Tel Aviv, in their aggression to us, they put it in the paper that Iran Airlines is now going to stop its flight between South Africa and Tel Aviv by 1st April because of South Africa's stance with Israel and ICJ. I hereby request that rather than allowing Iran Airlines a graceful exit on the 1st of April, at the expense of the South African reputation, South Africa should demand that Iran Airlines stops its flight with immediate effect. And lastly, if the Suez Canal is blocked for Israel, then South Africa should also not allow the Zionists and the airlines via the Cape Route, because South Africa values human life. And if there was anyone who knows suffering, it is us. But it is also those who migrated to, inverted commas, Israel, but yet are now inflicting a far worse punishment upon the same people who gave them refuge when Europe and America didn't want them. We should exhibit our humanity and exhaust our efforts in ending this injustice in Palestine.
Thank you. Some excellent points also about potential boycott and work and that. Let's take the 4th speaker. We'll take 5 in total, and then we'll come back to the panel for response. Please do introduce yourself. Thank you.
Good evening, Minister. My name is Umayya, and I am with Pretoria Muslim Women United. A few weeks ago, you said that you do not wish to be president and that you only wish to serve the people. I humbly ask you to reconsider that, because based on what you have done, it was incredibly brave, and South Africa does need a brave, strong, and principled leader. And I think it's because you said you do not want to be president that you absolutely should. Then my questions. I think it was about a week and a half ago, there was an EWN article with the headline read, Minister of International Relations believes that Hamas should be investigated for war crimes. So the investigative journalist Max Blumenthal from the Grey Zone and the Israeli, I think the Israeli newspaper Haaretz have actually proved that Israel was responsible for most of the civilian deaths with their Apache helicopters on the 7th of October, and that Hamas has not, or took hostages purely to exchange them for Palestinian prisoners. And a Chinese official said at the ICJ that he does not believe that what Hamas did was terrorism, and it differs from terrorism because of the 76-year occupation. Can you please enlighten me and explain, because I'm by no means an expert on any of this, as to why they should be investigated. And then following on from a previous speaker regarding Cape Town, how do we prevent Cape Town from turning into Little Israel? And I'm not just speaking about votes. I want to know from a practical perspective, economically, and what can we do to prevent Zionists who are running away from Israel because they're scared of dying, or whatever their reason is. How do we prevent them from taking over Cape Town? Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Humaira. Let's take that last question. Right at the back. It's nice that we're also going to spaces where, you know, because we can't see as far back, so it's nice to hear some thoughts and ideas. Over to you, brother.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to everyone in the room. Greetings to the panel as well. The question that I have to pose towards the panel is that how do us as supporters of the decision of the government of South Africa to take the state of Israel to the ICJ answer the questions of those who are against the decision by saying this is just a stunt by the ANC as the elections comes up? And I think this is a valuable question, as many of us within the youth that stand for Palestine and stand for humanity as a whole are speechless at times when it comes to answer this question. Just to introduce myself, as the host of the panel did ask, my name is Mudassir Ali, and I'm the president of the student wing of the Islamic Medical Association of South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Mudassir. And actually, it's a very important question. One of the things we said when coming here is we were not going to run away from the difficult questions. We were not going to run away from issues in the community. We're going to tackle them head on. We're going to be open. We're going to be honest. And I'm very grateful for that question, Brother Mudassir, because it is something that has been spoken about. And we are very happy, and we're going to deal with it very openly. Minister, would you like to take a stab?
Yeah. Thank you very much for all the questions. I think it's better to stand so that everyone can hear. Well, if you think that we act in support of Palestine because of elections this year, you don't know South African history. You don't know the history of liberation and struggle. We didn't meet the Palestinian people on October 8. We've been together in struggle for many, many decades. The people of Palestine trained the freedom fighters of the liberation movement. It's not, this is a relationship of freedom fighters, of activists, of nations that share a history of struggle for justice and freedom. We didn't meet Palestinian people yesterday. This country's leaders, in the course of struggle, led by our then President Oliver Tambo, did something no leaders have done before. Oliver Tambo went throughout the world because at the time we had nothing. All we had was our desire for freedom. He went from country to country worldwide and said, join us in solidarity. Even if you give us a pin to hold up our trousers and our skirts, do something with us in international solidarity. The concept international solidarity was coined through the work of Oliver Tambo as a facet of struggle, as one of the rungs, one of the principles of struggle, that wherever oppression might occur, whichever corner you live in, if you can act in the interest of those who suffer injustice. This principle is one on which we have fought our struggle as the African National Congress. This principle is why we support the people of Cuba, as we believe no people should be denied rights. No people should be sanctioned for no reason. No people should suffer because of their ideology. They pose you no threat. They can do you no harm, but you deny them access to goods. This cannot be tolerated. And when we see that injustice, as South Africans committed to justice, to human dignity, to equality, all values you prize because they're in your constitution. Values that are not just for you, values that apply to all humanity. As a Muslim, this is what I believe, and I'm glad the African National Congress shares those values. So it is not a matter of yesterday. It is not a matter of the election tomorrow. It's an issue of justice. It's an issue of fighting colonialism. It's an issue of fighting racism. It's an issue of fighting occupation. It's an issue of upholding the Charter of the United Nations, which says every nation deserves their sovereign integrity. The people of Palestine deserve their sovereign right to their land. Then, on the humanitarian aid, I think what you have seen in Palestine, my dear sister, is that there is an attack on all those who provide humanitarian aid. The allegations against the workers of UNRWA, which are allegations that have been made for many years, and where we've not seen a single shred of evidence being provided. This is all an attempt to ensure that the people of Palestine are denied basic goods and services. So what we should advise is that the persons you refer to should approach the remaining UN officers for assistance. We are also working with non-governmental organizations in Palestine, in Gaza, in the West Bank. And so we should approach those organizations that are human rights organizations that will be able to direct people to where there is assistance. But what we all have to fight for here, and I've asked this everywhere I've spoken, if you have a few hours, could you take your time and just make a poster? The poster should read, "Stop Genocide," and go and stand outside 5 embassies. There are 5 primary supporters of Israel. I'm not going to name them for you. You must do your work. As the women in black did for us when we were fighting apartheid, stand up and petition, stand up and protest, stand up and be visible. Don't only come to this dinner, be visible in support of the people of Palestine. Be visible. Sign a petition. In Cape Town, I said they want to destroy UNRWA. Let's make sure we provide funding for it. I said this at the mosque, and alhamdulillah, our people have come forward. We've got money, we will send it to the comrades. So let us not just be visible in a protest march or in a meeting. Let's just take 10 of us, not many, and we say, today on Monday, for 2 hours, you'll be at this embassy, you'll be at that one, you'll be. every day. It pinches that visibility. But our silence allows injustice. So let us stand up. Indeed, you are right, Molana. We are dealing with the geopolitics of today. There's a fierce fight going on because unipolarity and hegemony has been allowed to go on for too long. And now with BRICS, with China emerging, unipolarity stands challenged. And the fight against multipolarity is going to be fierce. So we need to support organizations that support multilateralism and a world where different ideas can thrive and live side by side. But we are fighting a big geopolitical war. And this is the moment where the South can take its place properly in the global geopolitics. Then I've already issued a statement alerting those who are South African and who are fighting alongside or in the Israeli Defense Force. We are ready. When you come home, we're going to arrest you. I don't want us to be assigning trivial matters to the government. I believe there are roles the government should play. We must carry on a very good case at the ICJ, but you must be activists. You must also play a role. You must say thank you, Al, goodbye. And don't book on them, whatever, just make it clear how you feel. Really, they're stopping their flights because they don't have passengers from here. And they're pretending it's something big. I'm going to ask you, because here in Erasmia and Laudium, I know many of you are significant business people. I want to ask you, join your country in building your country's economy. Lots of you are investing all over the world, but you're not investing capital in your country, and we need it desperately. We need to create jobs. We need to help young people to understand that they shouldn't just look for jobs, they must start enterprises. And what better teacher than our community, who are among the best business people in South Africa. Let's contribute to building our country. Today is the last time I want to say this. I fully support President Ramaphosa. I'm so glad we've got a president who's determined to fight corruption, and I will stand with him. I will stand with him. I have no interest in being a president. I think it's the worst job in the world. As I've said before, I love serving the people. I'm a public servant, and I'm happy to remain as a public servant. On Hamas, let me explain this complication. Firstly, the policy of the ANC and government has always been that we support a two-state solution. That Israel and Palestine should be two nation states living side by side in peace and security. In the final analysis, however, what eventually obtains will be determined by the people of Palestine, right? Very, very important that we recognize that. Just as we determine the course of our own history, we must allow Palestinian people to do the same. But it's also important that I say to you, in terms of our foreign policy promotes peace and negotiation. And I cannot criticize Israel for killing women and children brutally and then say I praise Hamas for holding innocent Israelis hostage. We can't do that. You can do it. You are an activist on the ground. I'm a member of a government, remember. I, as the government member, cannot be saying that. Don't expect me to say what you say. Don't. We are different. I represent all of South Africa. You can represent a small grouping or a large grouping, but I have a responsibility to ensure that I reflect the full policy of our country. And I do think that I worry, I've said this to my friends, that I am concerned that the Palestinian people have been left in the most terrible position to be exposed to such danger and harm. But I know that the Palestinian people have suffered for so long that they're prepared to resist until the end, and that is important. So we will stand with the Palestinian people, we will be guided by the Palestinian people, but I cannot, as a South African, say I go with Fatah, or I go with Hamas, or I go with faction group C of PLO. I cannot. What I am concerned about is, as part of the government of South Africa, I should continue wherever I am to support this important struggle for the just freedom and rights of the people of Palestine. And I'll do that wherever I am. Finally, I've answered the question about elections. I want to assure you, the gentleman who posed this very important question, you asked a very, very important question. But I want to really say to you, I think we should appreciate who and what South Africa is. Why in 1995 would Nelson Mandela say our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinian people? And it wasn't an election. It's the position of the African National Congress. It was then, it is today. And I think I pause there.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister. Let's go to you, Reverend Frank Chikane.
Thank you, Minister. I think she has answered all the questions. I just want to say one thing. That question about the fact that we do what we are doing because of the elections hurts me deeply. Because the person, I'm not talking about the person who raised it. The person who raised the question is saying, they say so. Now, I just want to say anybody who would watch the genocide in Gaza and still ask that question, I will not use the language I was going to use. But you can't think of the way people are being killed and think this is a game about elections. I mean, you must be dead in your conscience. And I think it's important for us to make it very clear. When I went to Palestine, May 2022, there was no election. I went there because the Palestinians were being killed daily. That's what I was there for. And when we were asked to go and risk ourselves now to go there during the war. By the way, when we went through the control border, there were no tourists, there was nobody. Nobody was going there. But we went there to be with the people, to express solidarity with them. I couldn't go and risk myself just for a game of elections. I mean, it's cold. I mean, it's inhuman to even think like that. And these parties that are saying, we have problems here, why are you worried about Palestine? You must be cold to watch that death and destruction and not be moved by it. I think it is for this reason that actually we should make sure we make the right choices of people who have a heart, who care about human beings. I think it's of vital importance. Let me just say one thing that we listened to, we met everybody when we were in East Jerusalem. We also met Jewish people who are against what's happening. And I heard for the first time from them about this article that has been written by one of the people who are now ministers in cabinet. He is called Bezalel Smotrich. He wrote an article, and it is entitled Israel's Decisive Plan. And it was published in 2015. But it indicated the plan they had, which is being executed now. And in that paper, this guy says, Palestinians have three choices. You either submit, or you leave, or you die. Three choices. It's in writing. Three choices. You either submit, leave, or die. And the Palestinians said, we're not going to leave. That's why the border is not being opened for them to go. They don't want to leave. They would rather die there. And it is of critical importance for us to do an intervention that will make sure they don't all die. We need to save the lives of the Palestinians. And that's critical for us. And that's why, and I want to make a comment again, that's why we are planning for this conference. The date is the 10th to the 12th of May. I've already read in Google from Zionists who are saying South Africa went to The Hague, now it's convening a conference. South Africa is the problem. I think we should be bold enough to be a problem for the world rather than let people die whilst we are doing nothing. We need to do it, and we are inviting the whole world in a representative way to be here with us in South Africa to declare solidarity with the people.
Thanks. There are a few questions that I wanted to respond to. I think the first one, it was the issue of humanitarian aid. We indeed support that there must be humanitarian aid in Palestine. But we must record it that dropping food through parachutes is inhumane when you can hand over food directly to the people of Palestine. The representative from Palestine explained that there were stampede and other things because America believes to dump food rather than hand it over properly is the correct way to deal with humanitarian aid. That must not be supported. The second thing, we need to go beyond just having gatherings like this. I think the minister correctly captured it. We need to have campaigns every week, every month, everywhere. Our voices must be heard and our voices must be clear. Cease fire immediately and liberate the people of Palestine. That should be our approach. But there is something that we need to start as South Africans, especially here in our province of Gauteng. The chief warlord of Israel, called Netanyahu, like they did with Vladimir Putin in Russia, he must be charged for genocide. He must be arrested as well, and we should lead that campaign. And we should further lead the campaign to boycott all products that are coming from Israel. And we must be outside the shops that are promoting this to stop this, because we are capable. But I want to send a message to people of Palestine, the representative of Palestine that are in this house. Betrayal from our side is not an option. Count on our support, not for today, not for tomorrow, but forever. There is a story that I normally share, and I like this story. I'm told when birds are playing and someone shoots one bird on the leg, all other birds will surround the limping bird so that the enemy does not know which bird is hurt. And all of us, we should surround the people of Palestine so that the enemy does not know who to kill, and they must kill all of us if they want to kill the people of Palestine. Thank you so much. Amandla.
Thank you very much, Premier. I know I'm cognizant of time. I just want to quickly deal with the question about Cape Town. I think Sister Humaira asked that, and it's a very important question. For those who can't remember, it's how do we prevent Cape Town from becoming a little Israel? There's a few important things that we can do, hey, and we're not helpless in this particular situation. Cape Town is a part of South Africa, and they will always be a part of South Africa. We have a role to play as the community to ensure that the Muslim community in the Western Cape does not vote for a Zionist party, for a racist party, and for a party that actively supports apartheid Israel. And if you weren't sure who that party is, it is the Democratic Alliance. So there is no freedom-loving, justice-fighting person who can in their good conscience still vote for the Democratic Alliance. And we must ensure that in the Western Cape, we bring them down below 50, because it is possible for us to take that province away from them. And it is fundamentally important, not just because of Palestinians, but because of the people in the Cape Flats, the people in Khayelitsha, the people of color and the black people in this country, and I say this blacks in general, because I include Indians and coloreds in that, who have been left behind in the Western Cape because they were born on the wrong side of the mountain. Because if you are not white in the Western Cape and you are not white in Cape Town, your lived experience is fundamentally different. It is a type of apartheid. And we must call it out, and we must ensure that our family and our friends in Cape Town and in the Western Cape vote for the ANC, because that is the only way we can prevent that from happening. Remember also, boycott, divest, sanction. We're all within our powers to do that. We ensure that we support the boycott list. That's fundamental. And very, very importantly, we have a rally on the 25th of May that we will be hosting in our province of Gauteng. It is so important as a show of power, as a show of solidarity, that we are all there. Naeem and the team, we want the Palestinian flag at our rally. We want the whole world to see that we unashamedly support the plight of Palestinians, and we unashamedly will continue to do so after the 29th of May 2024, when we usher in an ANC-led government. Amandla! Amandla! Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Phansi apartheid Israel, phansi! Phambili, freedom, phambili! Thank you very much. We're going to stay on the stage. There's just one or two very quick things. I promise you food's coming. Please don't eat the centerpieces. That will be an additional cost for us.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Just a final comment. I just want to read an extract to you that I've read in one of the books. It says, "It's quite unfortunate that we lived in a world where the oppressed are continuously being oppressed without any end, and justice has become a word that we can only ever say, but never physically or successfully see come into fruition. From Palestinians fighting for their rights, lands, and homes, to young women being denied the right to wear their hijabs, oppression comes in many forms. And whether that oppression is coming from a Muslim or non-Muslim, it is heartbreaking and anger-inducing for everyone who witnesses that oppression. We feel the unfairness when our fellow Muslim brothers and sisters continue to be oppressed while the world stays quiet. We witness the prejudice and unjust ways in which powerful Muslim countries ally themselves with the oppressors and give them ammunition to continue oppressing the innocent. That's why we salute our Honorable Minister Naledi Pandor and the African National Congress for throwing down the gauntlet to the oppressors. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we want to hand out some gifts to our guests here. The first person that I want to call onto the stage is Mariam Abubakar to hand over a gift to the Honorable Minister Naledi Pandor.
Assalamu alaikum. We just want to hand over a gift.
I'm going to use this quick opportunity while the gift is coming out. Am I on? Am I on? Okay, great. After the gifts, we're going to do something that's going to be quite important. After the gifts, I'm going to ask everybody to stand up, and we're going to do another round of Free Palestine, and we'd like that for our content for media as well. So we'll do that just after the gifts. Thank you.
Minister, this is for you. This is a painting that was painted by members of a group called Artillery. Artillery has been doing murals in Pretoria in solidarity with Palestine. But this is also being given to you on behalf of the Pretoria Muslim Women's United. Just to express our gratitude and just say thank you for everything that you have done.
Thank you. Another gift going the way of Honorable Naledi Pandor is from Brainy Brats. Can I please call Zaida on stage to make the presentation? Okay, the next gift goes to our Honorable Premier, Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, and the first gift to be presented to him is by the Friends of Palestine, by Rafiq Chariki. Rafiq Chariki. Rafiq Chariki, is he coming up here? Oh, there he is. Okay, Premier, we have another gift for you from the Friends of Palestine. And can I please ask Kamal Jafar to come up to make the presentation?
You wanted your t-shirt. We made it while you were here.
Oh, thank you. I'll wear it tomorrow. Thank you.
And the final gift we have is for Reverend Frank Chikani. Reverend Frank Chikani, I must tell you, in the days of the UDM, you were the most admirable person, you together with Ellen Busak. It was a great pleasure to listen to the two of you on stage. Can I please ask Ziad Suleiman on behalf of his mother to present a gift to Reverend Frank Chikani. Thank you. And before I call upon Mariam Juma from the Pretoria Muslim Women United to pass a vote of thanks, right, I'd like to hand over to Fasia Hassan.
All right, let's all stand up. I promise you it won't take long. Everybody, let's stand up.
Hello.
Amandla! Amandla! Away to. Long live Palestine, long live! Long live Palestine, long live! Viva Palestine, viva! Viva Palestine, viva! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Pansi apartheid Israel, Pansi! Pansi apartheid Israel, Pansi! Thank you very much. You may now take your seats.
Thank you.
My boo! Ye Palestine, my boo, yeah! My boo! Ye Palestine, my boo, yeah! Amandla! Amandla!
Right. Hello? Hello? Yeah, here we are. Okay, Mariam Juma, can we please ask you to come on stage?
We've done it. We've done it. We need to get a child though.
Honorable Minister Pando, Premier Lessufi, Murutu Chikane, Your Excellencies and distinguished guests, I greet you in the name of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Mariam Juma Charakcha, and I am honored to represent the Pretoria Muslim Women's United on this eminent platform. And I offer and convey our apologies, the apologies of our chairperson, the Honorable Hafsa Bika Karim. She could not be here tonight, but she sends all her greetings. And indeed, much of this event is due to her hard work. We've listened to a lot of what the South African government is doing and has done. We've heard from the Palestinian perspective in terms of the observation of Palestine. And practicing gratitude in the face of ongoing genocide may seem incongruent at this time. None of us actually feel like celebrating anything, and even trying to practice gratitude might feel like an exercise in privilege when our brothers and sisters are literally dying of starvation. Sometimes it feels like betrayal. However, giving shukr or giving thanks is not about ignoring or undermining the severity of the situation in Palestine. Rather, as the minister and all the speakers have emphasized, it's about honoring the resilience, empathy, and connection amidst this darkness. As the Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish wrote, there is something worth living for on this earth. And over the course of the past 5 horrific months, Gazans have shown us that it is life itself that is the greatest gift of all. And so we are thankful first and foremost to the Almighty Creator for giving us this privilege of simply being present, and indeed for being able to use our lives as instruments of service to our community. So on behalf of the Pretoria Muslim Women's United, I would like to offer sincere thanks and appreciation. And perhaps this is where the English language shows up for its limitations. Unlike Arabic or many other languages, there's simply no other word in English to say thank you, but thank you. So you would forgive this limitation. Honorable Minister, our heroine, Dr. Pando, Premier Lesufi, and Muruti Chikani, we owe you a debt of gratitude for honoring this invitation and indeed for providing the moral courage that has unmasked the hypocrisy of the international system. To our co-organizers, the local branch of the ANC, and in particular Councillor Patel and his wonderful team, and the South African Friends of Palestine, a huge thank you to you all. Your dedication and hard work has made this event possible. And behind the leadership of these organizations, of course, are the foot soldiers, the volunteers, the ladies in the kitchen, the people carrying the chairs, those who are unmasked, unknown perhaps. But it's these people who have made this event. And to all of them, particularly our ladies from the Pretoria Muslim Women's United, I thank you. There are too many, they're too numerous in number to mention individually. So I offer a general thank you. And I want our community to know that the PMW was established in 2013. And since then, it has taken 40 organizations under its umbrella. 40 organizations that have very different missions, very different views on things, but they're all united in one goal, and that is uplifting our community. And once again, I thank our chairlady, Hafsa, for having the insight and the visionary leadership to be able to steer such a weighty ship. PMW has also partnered with Artillery, which is a collective of creatives, basically whose passion is to do murals around the suburbs of Pretoria that will not only stand as a testament of what is happening, but will provide inspiration for people who feel that perhaps this is just far too overwhelming. Artillery is actually a group of artists that don't necessarily have formal training, but they all come together in a sense of creating beauty from the ugliness we see around us. To the sponsors of this evening, the backbone of this event, we'd like to express our gratitude, and in particular to the following sponsors: Easy Build, Fashion World, Shelfcraft, Shakil Bidya, the Laudium Sun, Laudium Today, Hilal TV, the Garden Social Services, the Muslims of Chwane, Mr. Kamal Jaffer, Sami and Beniz Badiachi, Yusuf and Muhammad Bidya, Marco, Kismet, Food Line, Baker's Oven, Rolling Pin, the Baker's Real Estate, and Ahmed Mohammed. Importantly, as Uncle KK pointed out at the beginning, the most important people are you yourselves, the attendees. We thank you deeply for not just attending, but for engaging in a substantive way to give real meaning to this event. We wish you all a safe trip home and a blessed and transformative Ramadan that will bring with it, inshallah, ease for all the oppressed peoples of the world. I thank you. Samaya Hankle, Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. The world has been praying for the freedom of the Palestinians. We all know the power of prayer or supplication. There's no doubt that even the smallest of supplication made by a sincere heart is heard by the Almighty and accepted by Him. The fact that God always responds to the supplication of an oppressed individual is one of the reasons we should be wary of injustice. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has said, beware of the supplication of the oppressed, for there is no barrier between it and God. We will ask Maulana Dawood to please come up on stage to read the final dua. And also, we want to express our gratitude to the owners of the SCC Center for allowing the use of the hall.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah, salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. Oh Allah, allow us to stay human and support the Palestinian cause. Oh Allah, most kind, ease the pain and suffering, bring equal rights to all. Ya Arhamar Rahimeen, as we can see here tonight, that definitely ANC is the way to be to a free Palestine. O Creator, kindly help and assist all those who stand up for justice, peace, and Ubuntu for all. And as we note, O Creator of the universe, that apartheid South Africa fell, the Berlin Wall fell, and inshallah, very soon, brick by brick, hall by hall, Israel will fall. And I conclude with that wise sentiments of our people of Palestine right now in Gaza. You can burn up our mosque and our homes and our school, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down. Gaza tonight. Viva Gaza! Viva Gaza! Viva Gaza! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Jazakallah Maulana, please enjoy the supper.